Who is going to start for Penn State this year? What is going to be their starting lineup? That is such an important question, and one that many fans are trying to figure out. Is Penn State has a loaded team with tons of talent, and some of it's going to start, some of it's not. Some are going to have some weight changes, some are going to stay put. And this is like, in a recipe, you have to follow the exact ingredients, and then you put it in the oven to get the exact right time and temperature, and you get well, with Penn State, the ingredients and who goes where and what don't actually matter. At the end of it all, you're going to have a delicious pie, right? No matter how they do it, they're in great shape, but there are a lot of different combinations at Cale Sanderson and company's disposal here. We'll start at 25, and I'll kind of walk through some of the different scenarios we could see it. Penn State had the #1 seed at NCAAs last year, Braden Davis, who had an amazing true freshman year, but he's going to be moving up, I believe. So it's going to leave a little bit of a vacancy, but insert Luke Lillidahl, top recruit, an absolute monster. He'll be wrestling at Junior Worlds. This guy is absolutely fantastic. He's going to go right away, in my opinion, for Penn State. And this is a wrestler that is absolutely, without a doubt, ready to rock and roll. He's got elite speed and hand fighting and positioning for a little guy. He can get to legs. He has a variety of attacks. He's solid enough on the mat. I think Luke is a ready-to-go product at 125 pounds. He's more college ready than Braden Davis was, without a doubt. I mean, that was verifiable. And look what Braden did year one. And now, is Luke going to be the #1 seed going into NCAAs? That I don't know. But I'll tell you this, he's good enough to win NCAAs as a freshman. 125 is going to be a lot like it was last year, except it loses a few of the big players. It loses NCAA finalist Drake Ayala. Braden Davis is moving up. You've got Pat McKee and Eric Barnett no longer in the mix. So it's lost some of its depth, but it's still going to be a wide open weight. Richie Figueroa is the returning champion there. He was the 8 or the 9 seed, I believe, at NCAAs this year. So it's a wide open weight. And yes, without a doubt, Luke Lillidahl is good enough to win it. And they'll have some solid depth there. They got Kurt McHenry, who's been around a while. They've got Gary Steen, who's been a starter for Penn State in the past. But ultimately, I think they're going to go with Luke Lillidahl, and I think Penn State fans are really going to enjoy watching Luke go. At 133 pounds, this is where you get some different options. Now, Aaron Nagao did maybe not have the season he was hoping for last year, falling short of All-American honors. But injuries, I think, played a little bit of a factor there in how well he was and wasn't able to wrestle there. And with his remaining eligibility, he still has this year and next. I believe he wrestles this year, but Braden Davis still has that red shirt, and I think they're going to use it. However, if Nagao encounters more injuries or is continuing to struggle, I wouldn't be surprised at all if by the year's end, Braden Davis is inserted into the lineup if something were to happen to Nagao. But they have a great option with Nagao. If he can refine some of his issues, if he can remain healthy, he's a guy that can place pretty high at NCAAs yet again. So they're in good hands either way at 133 pounds, no question about that. And 141, a little less debate, a little less discussion. Bo Bartlett, NCAA finalist, he's decided to come back. He's going to hold down 141 for his final year. I don't think there's any question about that. And he's a national title contender. He was a double-leg finish away from winning NCAAs, and there's no doubt he is high caliber enough to do that again. At 149 is where it gets interesting again, because they got third place the last 2 years at 149 with two different guys. So if you recall, 2 years ago, Shane Van Ness placed third, and he had a season-ending injury. And so they inserted Tyler Kasak, who was actually redshirting down at 141. They bumped him up, inserted him into the lineup, and he gets third at 149 and was a monster. He lost in round 1 at NCAAs and just went crazy on the backside. Majored Ridge Lovett, who was the runaway #1 seed, #1 favorite to win NCAAs. I mean, Kasak did some amazing things last year at 149. So two great options there. This is my opinion. I don't know what they're going to do. I've heard murmurs. Shane Van Ness is going to go 149 and bumping Kasak up to 157. And looking at the frames and the sizes and just how much Kasak grew through the course of last year, I think he's got the frame to go up to 157 and be really interesting, really tough. So I think Shane Van Ness comes back and is healthy at 149 pounds. And I think he, without a doubt, I think he may have been my preseason pick to win NCAAs last year. He went out with injury, so we didn't get to see it. I'm excited to see Shane Van Ness back at 149 going against the 149's elites like Caleb Henson, which that would be an absolutely incredible match if it ever happened between the returning NCAA champion from Virginia Tech and Shane Van Ness. That's my read right now. Van Ness 149, Kasich bumps up to 157. There's maybe some other options there. Levi Haines was the national champion at 157, but by all accounts, he is moving up. There's no way he can make 57 anymore. That is the general consensus inside and outside Penn State. Levi is no longer for 157, which creates an opening, and I think Kasich can fill that in brilliantly. Now, Kasich still has a red shirt, so is it a situation where we see some different characters holding down 57 for a period of time until they establish, yeah, Kasich is going to be the 157, and then they insert him in? Or does he go 157 the whole time? I'm not sure. They have Joe Seeley coming in. He was a huge recruit out of Wyoming Seminary, a cadet world champion. Where does he fit? He can also redshirt as well. So they've got a little flexibility there. But this is one of the weights I feel the least sure about, because does Kasich want to go up? Are they going to use it? I think for their best lineup, you want Tyler Kasich in there wrestling. He wrestled so well at the end of last year. Feels like he's in a real growth trajectory, and you want to capitalize on that and keep him in the lineup. So I think he goes 157 for them. 165, I predict Mitchell Messenbrink is their starter there. He's an NCAA finalist last year, almost won as a freshman. And I don't think you disrupt that. I don't think you change that. I think he remains there. In my opinion, he's the #1 favorite to win an NCAA title of any weight class. I think he's very likely to do it. And there's no reason for him to want to change weights. It aligns perfectly with his international goals of wrestling at 163 pounds. So I think we see Mitchell hold down 165 and win a national title. 74, it gets really, really interesting again, because Alex Facundo had an amazing redshirt year. This guy's really good at freestyle. Had a good showing at senior nationals, great showing at the Olympic trials. He beat Levi Haines at the Olympic trials in freestyle. And so now, do we have this collision here, Levi Haines and Alex Facundo at 174? The reason I'm saying right now, Alex Facundo the starter, because Levi has that red shirt. They can kind of kick down some of these, some of this lineup friction another year by redshirting Levi, and I think that's what we see now. Is that what Penn State wants to do? Do they want to redshirt Levi? Does Levi want to redshirt, or does he want to battle for the spot right now? My read on the situation is that Facundo goes and Levi redshirts. But if Levi ends up going, that wouldn't surprise me at all, because Cale Sanderson and company have shown no reservations in making sure they get their best lineup out there every year. And now with Iowa adding some serious firepower, they probably don't want to leave any room for error. But I think we're going to see a different Alex Facundo this year. It sounds like his development over the last year has been really impressive, and I'm excited to see him. I've always been high on Alex Facundo. He had a disappointing NCAAs, and I feel like that overshadowed what was actually a pretty good freshman year. If you go back and look at it, he had a really good season. He was really solid. He didn't have a good NCAAs, but that doesn't erase what he did that entire season. I think there's bright days ahead for Alex Facundo. So Levi redshirts, my prediction for right now. I think Carter Starachi, who had been holding down 174 for the last 4 years, moves up to 184 now. Of course, he threw it out there that, hey, maybe he'd go 197. As time has passed, it sounds like that's fiction, not going to happen. He's not going to go up 2 weight classes, even though I actually think there's some great lineup synergy for Penn State. If he does that, I'll get to that in a bit. But I think he's going 184, which is, sets up the match of matches, right? Wherever Carter goes is actually the match of matches, because if he stayed at 174, then it's Keegan versus Carter Starachi. That's insane. If he goes 184, it's Parker Keckeisen versus Carter Starachi. Another insane matchup. So wherever he goes, it's going to be incredible to watch. It's going to be star-studded matchups. And his quest for a 5th national title may be his toughest yet. And you wouldn't expect that for a guy that's winning their 4th, going for their 5th. But I think that's the reality that Carter Starachi is going to be facing, because Parker Keckeisen is no slouch. But I think Carter goes 184. And then 197, this is probably the biggest question mark weight for Penn State. And it's funny that the question mark weights are like a guy that just made a junior world team like Josh Barr, or Lucas Cochran, who beat an All-American last year, But that's just the reality of Penn State. They just have a wealth and embarrassment of riches there. And I think it's going to be Josh Barr. If they wrestle their best guy, it's probably Connor Mirasola. But I think you redshirt Connor Mirasola. Is he going to be enough of an upgrade to unseat Josh Barr? And I think one thing going against Josh Barr is he's going to be a little undersized. He's a 184-pounder probably. It's probably his ideal weight class, but Carter Starachi's there, so that's not as much of an option. So I think he goes up to 197, and 197 is a weight class where you've seen guys don't have to be as big and can have some success. Bo Nickel's done it, Quentin Wright's done it, other wrestlers weigh in light and can do well there, and I think Josh Barr could. And what he proved from losing to Aiden Sinclair at the Open to beating him 2 out of 3 in the trials shows just what a, not just a skilled but an intelligent and a tactical wrestler he is, and that'll serve him well at 197. But you can't forget about Lucas Cochran, a guy who wrestled at 197 and heavyweight kind of spot started for the Nittany Lions last year. He beat an All-American, Yaroslav Slavakuski of Rutgers, up at heavyweight. Now they have him at 197. That's not going to be a hole if Lucas Cochran's your wrestler. He's good enough to win a lot of matches at the national tournament. And I don't think we see the Mirasolas wrestle this year. I think they both will end up redshirting because at heavyweight, Cole Mirasola will get to train with Greg Kirkfleet on his final year. Greg's decided to come back. He's number 1 ranked. He's a returning undefeated NCAA champion, and he's very likely to repeat that. So there's a lot. They're very solid at the heavyweight class, and overall, this is a very, very solid team. I mean, solid is an understatement. This is a team that is, very likely to win the NCAA tournament. And if you look at it on paper, there's a lot of Saturday night potential. I mean, I think Luke Lillidahl, Bo Bartlett, Van Ness, Kasek, Messenbrink, Carter, Greg Kirkfleet. That's a host of NCAA finalists, NCAA champion potential wrestlers, and the others are not far behind. So going to be a really, really fun year. And with Penn State, you don't always know right away what direction it's going to go. It was later in the year for Levi's true freshman year when his redshirt got pulled. And with the 5 matches for true freshmen before you have to pull the redshirt, it gives Coach Sanderson and company even more flexibility. So we're not going to have solid answers around this probably until well into the season, but it's going to be fun to follow this Penn State team start to finish. No question about that.